Hi, my name is Manal and I'm the owner of Scratch, which is a small jewelry business that I started 2 years ago. When you've immigrated somewhere, you have what feels like a fractured identity for a while. Funnily enough, the place that I resonate with the most is Scarborough, Ontario. Out of all the countries we've been to, I'm like, I love Scarborough, this is my home. Yeah, I think the identity shift had to happen. It's malleable, right? Like we change as people. I feel like I changed a lot in how I related to being Pakistani. The love of art started from a young age. Somehow I fell into graphic design because a lot of the art stuff that I have done over my life has been because it was a community project. When I was in high school, I was part of the student council and we were doing MIST, which is Muslim Interscholastic Tournament. And then that spiraled into my first full-time job, which was with Islamic Relief Canada. And both MIST and Islamic Relief Canada were very, very big stepping stones for me in terms of art because the people who I was surrounded by in those spaces were extremely, extremely supportive. Not just supportive, but like they were like, we want you to do your art thing. And I didn't get to go to art school, but somehow through these community groups and through those people, I was able to bring my work to an industry level standard. There was a lot of other South Asian people. There's a lot of Pakistani people in those spaces. I feel like I learned more about my culture meeting those people because, again, it comes back to like when I was younger, I was very ambivalent about it. And I saw these like fellow people from the same country being so proud of who they were and like loving where they came from and loving their culture. And I was like, why do I not feel that same way? And that led me to interrogate that a little bit. Scratch kind of started out as just being this thing that I wanted to do because I like tangible things. I think in the world of digital art, it's really nice to have things that you're like, I made this with my hands and here's the proof. I love doing miniatures so much. When I discovered polymer clay, it felt like a whole new world opened up for that. So one thing I wanted to do, we have incredible jewelry artwork that comes out of Pakistan. They're very, very intricate. And with my work, when I first started, I was kind of doing these like very simple designs. I wanted to do things that look like other things, like a burger or like a slice of pizza. And I still love those. I think those are really fun. And then as time went on, I kind of wanted to take inspiration from those Pakistani art styles. It's a lot of floral motifs. There's a lot of dots and like these kinds of things, which I hadn't done before. And so I remember last Ramadan, I was like, well, I wanted to try a couple of those. So I tried some of these like pattern designs, some colors that I feel like are familiar to the Pakistani diaspora. There are things that are very culturally specific, especially in Ramadan when I've started making that collection. So we have samosa, which a lot of Toronto people know what a samosa is. But we also have other things like there's this very thick syrup called ruabza that we use to make these like yummy sweet drinks that you drink after you break your fast. And so I really wanted to make a miniature version of that. One of the ones that I've worked on it's called Firozi. I remember that word being used every time we went to a fabric market. My mom or my aunt would be like, show me the Firozi one. And I'm like, what's Firozi? Like I had to learn later it meant this beautiful like turquoisey teal color that everyone loves in Pakistan for some reason. Whether or not you relate to something is not so much the issue, it's the learning. So I get to tell you something about this, I want to know something about you. There is a cross-cultural exchange even in moments when nobody gets what the other one is saying. The very first time I fundraised with Scratch was because I had just started it. It was only a few months in and I was still figuring out what to do with it. And Pakistan had a big flood that happened and I feel like this was, I don't want to say the year wrong, but I feel like it was 2020 or 2021. But during that flood, it was a really, really big humanitarian crisis and people were looking for donations and because our whole diaspora here was all fundraising together and I was just like, what could I do? So I made this whole collection. It was inspired by just like the green and white of the flag or like the crescent and the crescent moon and the star. I learned a new technique for it because I was like, this is fundraising, it has to be a little fancier. And so I made this big collection for Pakistan flood relief and we actually raised a lot of money. I think it was well over $1,000 just from selling these like handmade earrings. And when that happened, I was like, other humanitarian crises, of course, continue to happen. And anytime I had the capacity or I had the materials or I had whatever, like if I had something that felt like I could give back, I was like, I want to do a collection. So we did one for Turkey and Syria when the earthquake happened. And then most recently, there was a Palestine one. And then the next one is for Sudan. So for me, it just felt like a responsibility. It's like you have to do it. There's also the joy of it too, because I get to do it while doing art and while doing Scratch. So it felt like a good merging of those two works. In the art that I make, I think I like to reference a lot of diaspora homages in there. So it's not just the part of me that's from back home, but it's the part of me that moved. That's important because Before, I think I was trying to create a singular, beautiful, very neat and tidy identity. And now what I like is knowing that there are different parts and they can exist at different times. But it all just makes me who I am. Community projects is where I got my start in art. So it feels like it is part of the foundation of who I am, and it's part of the foundation of how I identify as an artist. So there's a beautiful, lovely aspect of it, and then there's the aspect where you have to like disentangle yourself sometimes from the community, which sounds maybe selfish, but I don't think so, because I think ultimately in my mind it's always, let me come back to the community eventually. But you need your time to sharpen your skills as an artist. I think with Scratch, the nice thing is there's a bit of a gap. So I can do, I get to do a lot of my own brainstorming, I get to do a lot of my own skill building, and then I get to do the community work. And that's very much my decision, how I sort of want to, I guess, pivot the business a little bit. That's the kind of thing I want to continue doing, and I just want to grow Scratch to a point where it doesn't feel like I'm like scrounging for resources to get those fundraising collections off the ground. I just really like making the jewelry. I love making the little miniatures. I actually love that part. That's like my favorite part about it. So as long as I can continue doing that, I'm happy.